Hi there everybody, this is David, and as the Nintendo Switch is entering its final years of existence, I thought that it might be fun to ask a whole bunch of my friends here on YouTube, what are your favorite RPGs for the Switch before we get into the Switch 2, or the Switch Next, or whatever it is it's going to be. So we're going to hear from a whole bunch of really great people today going over their favorite RPGs, and I do think that that is worth a sub as I try my best to get to 100,000 subscribers this year. Now with your help, your like, and your sub, I do think that I can get there. And now, to kick things off, we're going to hear about a really fun trilogy that looks like a lot of people seem to like, so let's hear it for HellFireRPGs, Orbalology, and TheNightSkyPrince.
Hello everyone, TheNightSkyPrince here, and my favorite RPG that you can play on the Switch has to be Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Players will follow the journey of Shulk, a young man wielding the mysterious Minato blade, as he seeks to uncover the secrets behind a devastating attack on his home. Set in a vast world formed on the bodies of two colossal titans, it's a world like nothing you've ever seen before. The game features an MMO-esque battle system, where players control one character while issuing commands to AI-controlled party members. If you enjoyed the combat in Final Fantasy XII, it feels like a more active version of that. And for a game originally made for Nintendo Wii, it's unbelievable how massive this game is, and the Definitive Edition takes this classic even further with its remastered visuals, improved user interface, and added content, making it truly live up to its namesake, Definitive Edition. If you're someone who really misses the feeling of the older Final Fantasies, where a big party of a diverse cast of characters come together for a world-spanning adventure, this game will give you that exact feeling. And with music by Yasunori Mitsuda, best known for his work on Chrono Trigger, you'll adore every track in this game. So if you're looking for a new JRPG to play on Switch, look no further than Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition.
Hey, this is Emily from Orbalology, and the Nintendo Switch has shaped up to become such a JRPG machine these last few years, with so many fantastic titles spread across both first-party and third-party developers. And the title that I really wanted to highlight today that I think every JRPG fan should own is none other than Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Xenoblade Chronicles is one of my favorite JRPG series of all time, and all the games are equally fantastic in my opinion. However, I have to give a slight edge to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. For me personally, even though it has had quite a divisive reaction among both Switch users and other JRPG fans. There's so many elements that I really loved about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but the thing that really stood out for me was the fantastic characters that you really can't help but grow attached to. There's just something about this title that really resonated with me, and I think just the journey these characters went on and how they kind of grew as individuals, and all the themes around nihilism just really spoke to me. And I still think about the story and all the characters to this day, and just how much fondness I have for them. And there's of course other amazing things about this title that really stands out, such as the amazing soundtrack. And the combat system is also fantastic once you get the ropes. Once it clicks, it really clicks, and I have to say that this is still my favorite combat system across all the Xenoblade games. If you love JRPGs with fantastic characters and very thoughtful and thought-provoking story, along with rich environments you get to explore in and quite an addictive combat system, you definitely don't want to miss out on Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in your collection.
Hello everyone, HellFireRPGs here. Thanks for having me on again, David. Best Switch JRPG. It really feels like there are 10 million of them on the console, but there's one that definitely stands out above the rest. I'm talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. There is so much about this game to love, starting with its gorgeous presentation. Monolith Soft are actually magicians, as they somehow managed to make their titles look so much better than just about anything else on the Switch. Add to this the massive world to explore, some outstanding combat and RPG upgrade mechanics, and a soundtrack full of bangers, and you have yourself a must-play JRPG. But while all of this is top tier, it is the characters and storytelling that really takes the crown. There are so many moments in this game that just blew my mind, and this is particularly true of the Chapter 5 ending, which is probably the most powerful piece of video game storytelling that I've ever witnessed. It was also very personal to me, as I had recently lost one of my closest friends of 25 years, and reaching this specific point in the game during this tough time was incredibly impactful. If you're after an expansive, epic journey with a great cast of characters and a deep, highly emotional story, then Xenoblade Chronicles 3 should not be missed. Its DLC also links all 3 of the Xenoblade games together, which was also really cool. Thanks for having me on again, David, and I hope to see you over on my channel soon.
Thank you so much for that. I am a huge fan of the Xenoblade series myself, I've gotta say. And keeping with the kind of sequel theme, let's hear about another great RPG series, this time from Taylor over at TheGamingShelf and JRPGLife.
Hello there, I am Dan.
I'm Elisa.
And this is our JRPGLife. So, our favorite Switch RPG during the whole lifespan of the Switch is a really tough question because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of ports too.
And you know what? I think the one we are going to pick is the one that you all have probably played, and if you haven't, where have you been?
Now's your chance.
Yeah, and it is Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dana. I think there's a lot of hesitancy in people jumping into a series that starts at number 8, thinking that they're probably missing something, but you're not.
No, it's like Final Fantasy. You can jump in at any title.
Yeah, and there's consistent things like Adol and Dogi, you know, those are characters that come up in everyone, but in general, this is a standalone game that you can play and enjoy without knowing anything else about the series.
Yes, so Adol and friends are on a ship, and they get in a shipwreck, and they're stranded on the island, and they're looking for other survivors from the shipwreck to build a camp and survive together, and they discover some mysterious kind of monsters along the way, and the story develops on from there. It's an action RPG, which is great because if you can't stand turn-based combat because it's too slow and boring.
This one's nice and fast and enjoyable.
And there's a wide range of characters to pick from, and you'll be able to pick out your favorite ones to fight with because they're all a little unique and different with their fighting styles.
It's a really cool system where you kind of unlock the island as you continue to explore it, fighting new monsters, finding new things to upgrade your camp with, and building your camp up in a way in which you can return to a town and, you know, find civilization once again. So you might be wondering, what is a Lacrimosa and who's Dana?
Dana is a blue-haired lady that you meet on the island that is not a part of the crew. She's not from the shipwreck. You unlock her mystery and what's special about her.
Ys 8 is our favorite RPG on the Nintendo Switch, and we highly recommend you play it. If you're looking for other retro gaming or collecting content, make sure you come check out our channel, JRPGLife. We'd love to have you there.
And thank you, David, for inviting us.
What's going on, everyone? This is Taylor from The Gaming Shelf, and thanks, David, for having me on to talk about one of my favorite JRPGs on Nintendo Switch, and that is Ys 9 Monstrum Nox. Now, I know everybody loves Ys 8, and I can't blame you. That island setting, running around, Dana, I mean, it's all fantastic, but I feel like Ys 9, in comparison, goes really underappreciated. I know a lot of people don't like that you're kind of confined to the city, but I think that's what makes it so fun. It makes it a tighter experience. I think the best part about the game is the gifts. Basically, every character has some sort of way to explore the world in a more interesting way, whether that be gliding with the wings or zooming to a spot or running up walls or discovering hidden walls. It's just so much fun, and the city is designed in such a way to take advantage of this. And there are so many little collectibles scattered throughout the city that you want to just find absolutely everything, not to mention the little portals all over the place where you just get into these mini fights and you're constantly building up a level so you can unlock the next part of the game. It just feels so satisfying, and it always feels like there's something cool and fun to do. Not to mention the combat is just incredible. Probably my favorite character has to be the doll. She essentially moves on roller skates, so it's super fun to just zoom around, and she has this whip move. She was easily my favorite character to play as. Not to mention the game has some absolutely incredible music and one of the most wild stories in the Ys series. So if you liked Ys 8 and you want to try something a little bit different but still familiar, definitely try Ys 9. Definitely one of the best JRPGs on the Nintendo Switch. Once again, David, thanks so much for having me on, and I hope to see you all on my channel, The Gaming Shelf.
I certainly love the Ys series. I always have, ever since I was a kid. It's a whole lot of fun. But there's some more games made by Nisa than just Ys. And here to go over them, we have TheKisekiNut, SuperDerek, and TarksGauntlet.
Hi guys, it's TKN here, and thanks to David for letting me be a part of this awesome collab. So the Switch is nearing its end if the rumours are to be believed, but we JRPG fans have feasted off that little tablet for years. It's undoubtedly one of the best consoles for the genre in recent memory. And I think the same, because without it I wouldn't have been able to play my pick, Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore. I can't really put my finger on it, but Tokyo Mirage Sessions knows what it is, and it just goes full throttle on that premise. the idea of mixing Persona/SMT mechanics with an idle-focused adventure sounds like the makings of an inventor who thought the chocolate teapot was the next best thing. But it works really well. The battle system is actually pretty good, and the illustrations are eye-catching and vibrant as I would expect from a game with an idle-focused premise. The challenge is there, but the option to min-max is available to players should they choose to go down that route. The side stories specific to each character are worth the time to see through and lead to a tangible reward like one of those awesome pre-rendered music videos. The biggest disappointment with Tokyo Mirage Sessions for some was in its prior advertising. People thought it was going to be more linked to its source material like Fire Emblem or Shin Megami Tensei, which, let's face it, outside of the skill names and some cameos, it wasn't really that. It was more just a standalone title, but it was still a damn good standalone title. I had way more fun with this game than I thought I would. It gets my recommendation any day of the week, so thank you to David for allowing me to share it here.
Hey everyone, I'm SuperDerek, and thanks for having me on, David. The Switch has so many awesome RPGs that it's hard to pick just one, but the real highlight for me has been Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure. Okay, so that's two of my favorites, but they're basically part 1 and 2 of the same game. You can't make me choose, David. Trails from Zero is the 1980s buddy cop underdog story turned into a JRPG that I didn't know that I needed in my life. And what's more, you can start playing the Trails series here. You might miss some context here and there for an impactful moment or two, but otherwise it's just a very good jumping in point. You know you want to join our cult, our flavor rate tastes pretty good. But kidding aside, this duology represents some of the best that the Trails series has to offer. It drip feeds you just enough information a little bit at a time so you can dig into a fun and engaging subplot about the newly formed Special Support section. These are rookie detectives that are trying to restore some semblance of justice in a very tumultuous city-state of Crossbell. And just when you feel like you've got things figured out, there's an incredibly well-told story of political intrigue, subterfuge, and terrorism, and an international game of chess being played out. And normally this sort of stuff makes my eyes glaze over like I'm watching C-SPAN, but because of how much is going on and how it affects this incredible ensemble of characters so directly, that it, for me, just clicks. But meanwhile, there are very personal stories being told that are even more engaging. The combat is incredibly fun and streamlined, and there's so much depth that, honestly, it's just a shame we didn't get this game officially any sooner. But the fact that we have the best version of Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure on the Switch kinda makes up for it being so late to the party. Go check it out now.
Konnichiwa, Davidvincers. My name is TarksGauntlet, and I was born without a beard. Today, I want to share with you Labyrinth of Refrain and Labyrinth of Galeria. While not necessarily my favorite JRPGs on the Switch, this is a series that deserves a place in a list like this, and I doubt anybody else was going to take it, so the responsibility falls to me. These games are dungeon crawlers with what I would consider an absurd level of depth. Battle mechanics run insanely deep in a way I can't fully express in a small segment like this. But for a quick reference, these character blocks here are not single characters, but are actually entire parties of characters, resulting in your active battle party becoming dozens of characters at any given time. Thing is, each character in each party has their own skills and stats, and each party has its own attributes that maximize or minimize those stats. Additionally, each character slot within a character party has its own abilities that modify the slotted character's abilities, or even modify a slot-linked character ability. This making the pre-planning portion of battle an insane strategic endeavor. I've honestly never seen anything quite like it before. Outside of combat, the dungeon crawling is quite excellent, with loads of hidden secrets and exploration abilities. The art and music draw upon those familiar old-school Disgaea vibes we all know and love, and the story is a beautiful weave of tragedy, comedy, and honestly just straight cruelty in the style of Witch and the 100 Knights. So, you know, there is a bit of a focus on dark comedy. These are super quality games that sadly went overlooked around the world, and I only hope that more people come to discover them and love them in the future thanks to videos like this. So, thank you, David, for giving me the opportunity to show people a game they might not have ever even heard of.
We've seen some great action RPGs, some turn-based RPGs, but how about some calm, cozy RPGs? Let's hear about those from Josh's Gaming Garden, JustTheGems, MissBubbles, and Joesephyr.
Hi everyone, I'm Josh, and thank you so much, David, for having me. There are so many amazing RPGs for the Nintendo Switch, but very few manage to have me going back to them over and over again like the Rune Factory games do, and if I had to pick my favorite, it would be Rune Factory 4 Special. If you're not familiar, Rune Factory is part farming sim where you farm, fish, cook, make friends, find love, and compete in various festivals, which are always so much fun. It's also part RPG where there's a proper, interesting main story to follow, dungeons to explore, monsters to fight, tons of different skills to level up, and the two sides of the game complement each other very well. There is always something to do, and you can truly sink hundreds of hours into Rune Factory 4 Special if you're trying to complete everything, ship all of the different items, craft the best gear, with plenty of endgame content to keep you busy and grinding for as long as you'd like. I have a bad habit of dropping RPGs halfway through because I get distracted with other games or real-life stuff, and then I forget all about the story and gameplay mechanics, making it really hard to finish them. But with Rune Factory 4 Special, thanks to all of the side activities and farm sim elements, I find it simple to jump back into it at any time, do pretty much whatever I feel like on that day, and still make some progress even if I don't remember exactly what I was doing the previous time. This is why I like playing it on the Switch more than on other consoles or PC, as it works really well for short sessions on the go, and it's overall a fantastic game.
Hey friends, it's Brandon from JustTheGems. Thanks so much, David, for having me on. Man, the Switch has been a real JRPG powerhouse. I thought nothing could unseat the PS2 as the place for JRPGs, but I think the Switch has done it. And regardless of what happens in the future, I'll always be grateful for the Switch because it brought me not only my favorite game on the platform, but one of my favorite games of all time. I'm talking about Harvestella. Very few games have upended my expectations like Harvestella did. I figured this would be a Rune Factory clone, a bunch of farming with some basic fantasy characters and dull action RPG combat. The reality is pretty darn far from that, though. The farming is a relatively small part of it, but it's actually engaging. The characters are far from basic, the designs are gorgeous, and the artistic design of the world is stunning. And the combat is so much deeper than I would have thought, with a full job system and a ton of different ways to play depending on your preference. And the music, good lord, Go Shiina is quickly becoming my favorite composer of all time. The tracks he put together for this game are so beautiful and epic and just beyond belief. Top it off with a story that hooks you from almost moment one, full of so many twists and turns that genuinely left my jaw on the floor. This game needs more attention, so if anything I've said has piqued your interest, please pick it up. It's an incredible experience from beginning to end, and in my opinion, it is far and away the best JRPG on the Nintendo Switch.
Hello, it's MissBubbles, and the moment I hear Nintendo Switch, you know I'm gonna run and be in the collab that's talking about Nintendo Switch, let alone RPGs on the Nintendo Switch, best RPGs on the Nintendo Switch. I got you covered, and the first game that came to my mind was Fire Emblem Three Houses. Where do I even begin? This game captured my heart, and that's saying something because I'm someone who's put off by tactical combat. But before we get into the combat, let's talk about the world and the lore and how intricate everything is. Having three houses to choose from, each with their own destiny to uncover and students to meet and train, the game gives you something new to look forward to with every playthrough. But even when you're playing the playthrough, there's just so much to get into. Add to that the life that the voice actors bring to these characters, like, wow. I was so immersed into the story that the game is just gonna grip you, it hooks you, and it's really hard to get distracted. And to make this even more exciting, I love slice of life elements in games, and Fire Emblem does this aspect so well. While you do have your calendar to manage different activities with your students, the amount of things that you can do, as well as you seeing your students benefit from the things that you're doing, and they're like trusting you more, they're having more open conversations with you, they're even getting better on the battlefield, it feels so rewarding. But let's go back to the combat. I hate tactical combat, I'm new to turn-based RPGs, and this game just was very welcoming to me. Yes, every battle is gonna get more complex, but I feel like the game introduces elements to you in a way that is very welcoming to a beginner, and I'm telling you, I am a complete noob, so if I can get it, you could definitely get it. And I don't know about you, but I adore bed gaming, and having this massive world to play in my hands, in bed, while I'm just lying down and relaxing for the night, it was such a sweet treat. If you played Fire Emblem Three Houses, let me know which house is your favorite. And if you love everything RPGs and cozy games, check out my channel. Thanks so much for David for having me today.
Hi there Dave, hi there everybody, my name is Joesephyr and my pick for the best JRPG on the Nintendo Switch has got to go to Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. And the reason for that is, other than other Paper Mario titles, there's never been anything like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. It's humorful, which means it's got so much character, it's funny, and in a world of RPGs that take themselves way too seriously, I always found it to be refreshing. And getting hold of one of the original copies of Thousand Year Door for the GameCube has become practically impossible. I also really enjoy the gameplay of Thousand Year Door. It's a lot more interactive than many RPGs. You're expected to actually press buttons in time with the attacks that you do and to guard enemy attacks as well. And all of the characters present, whether they be from Mario titles previous or not, just burst with character. So Gumbet or Flavi, all of these characters are just wonderful to look at. So thank you very much for inviting me to come and share my favourite RPG on the Switch, and I'll be curious to know yours too.
And now, finally, it's time for everybody's favorite company, the company that's been around since I was a little kid on the NES, and that is Square Enix. There's a lot of great Square Enix games out there, and we're going to hear from projared, BacklogBattle Alex, femtrooper, and me going over our favorite Square Enix games on the Switch.
Hi, I'm projared, and easily my favorite RPG for the Nintendo Switch has to be Bravely Default 2. I love this game, and I don't think enough people have given this game a chance. This is your traditional turn-based RPG that a lot of people have been clamoring for. I'm a huge fan of the Final Fantasy series, and I know a lot of other people who love Final Fantasy, and one of the things they say over and over and over again is, I wish Final Fantasy sure was turn-based. You know what? Bravely Default 2 is the turn-based Final Fantasy game that you've been looking for this entire time. One of the things you can do in every single battle is defend, or default, which allows you to stockpile actions, allowing you to expend them in subsequent turns. So if I defend one turn, or default, the next turn I'll have 2 actions to use in a row. You can do this up to 4 times. Or, if you think you can just finish them off right now, you can go into the negative and take several turns off by expending all of your additional actions right in a go. Plus, there are some special abilities and some special skills that require additional turn points to even use any of them. So sometimes you kind of have to defend, getting around enemy attacks or when you see a big thing coming, or just trying to set these up so you can do big explosive maneuvers. One of the things I like the most about it is that it is as classic of an RPG as you can possibly get. 4-player party, there's an overworld, tons of secrets, and easily my favorite thing, it has a job system. I'm a sucker for any game that does this. There are all kinds of different jobs. You earn job points to get different skills or passive abilities. And of course, you can mix and match them as you go for a lot of customization and a lot of secret jobs to find in the end game. It's got a lovely cast of characters that I love all of them, and it's got a surprisingly dark theme. I don't think people were ready for how mature the themes got in this game, so it's absolutely worth playing if you've never done it before, especially if you're someone who always wanted that classic RPG to play through again that's turn-based with jobs and all that customization. Bravely Default 2 has all those things that you're looking for.
What's up everyone, Alex here, and I want to just take the time to thank David for inviting me to this collab because me and him are buds and we love Switch games, and one of my absolute favorite Switch JRPGs that, you know, it's barely been over a year since its release is Octopath Traveler 2. What's really cool about Octopath Traveler 2 is that it took a lot of the shortcomings of Octopath Traveler 1 and tackled it in such an interesting way in the second game that not only do we get a lot more interactions between different characters, but the game also pairs 2 party members together in an exclusive quest that features both of them, which has them interacting with each other and really highlighting some fantastic storytelling in the game. But perhaps one of the biggest things that I love about the game is the fact that this world is a lot more explorable and a lot less limiting when compared to the first game. What's more is that this cast is a lot more charismatic and lovable, and all of this improved presentation and storytelling combined with the classic turn-based and job-based systems that the previous game really nailed, and it absolutely stands out as one of my favorite turn-based JRPGs in recent memory. Thanks again to David for allowing me to talk about Octopath Traveler 2, and I hope I'll see you on my channel.
Hey everybody, it's femtrooper, and thank you to Davidvinc for having me on to talk about my favorite RPG on the Switch, and that is none other than Dragon Quest XI's. So why is it my favorite? Well, Dragon Quest is pretty much my favorite series of all time, and this one is my favorite, and honestly, it does everything right for me. It has an amazing world to explore, it has a phenomenal cast of characters, some of the best ever. I mean, come on, Rab, come on. The music's great, the gameplay's great. Dragon Quest to me is comfort food like it is for most people, but it's just so good. I played this game right after my son was born. It was kind of like the first RPG that brought me back into gaming, and it's long, but it is so engaging and keeps you absolutely hooked. Like, I was in tears for a few moments in this game. It has an amazing story. It's simple, but it's really solid. It's good. That's the thing about this game. It's good. I don't know how you couldn't like it. It's just really fun. I remember playing this game and every moment loving it. Like, never being sick of anything, always wanting to see what the next town was or the next character was that you were going to meet, the next party member. It was so much fun. This game is worth your time to no end. Like, you have to play it if you still haven't. It is so good. Thanks again, David, for having me on, and I hope to see you over at my channel.
Before I go ahead and share my favorite Switch RPG, I did just want to give a big thank you to everybody here for participating. And kind of piggybacking off of femtrooper's entry, I want to go ahead and say to nobody's surprise that my favorite entry on the Switch is also a Dragon Quest game, and it just so happens to be Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. This game is fantastic. It is another entry in the long-running Dragon Quest Monsters series, which began on the Game Boy, and it started with like randomly generated dungeons and things like that, but it's really evolved into its own thing. And what's really cool about this one is that it takes an established universe, an established Dragon Quest game, this time Dragon Quest IV, and it kind of retells the story, but not from the hero's point of view, but from the villain's point of view, from Sorrow's point of view, as you get to go through the underworld, which was tiny in the NES version of the game, but now it is massive, it is huge. There's all sorts of different echelons, each with their own like themes. Some of them are like undead themed, or they're candy themed, or they just look like regular normal worlds. And you go out and you explore, and you fight in turn-based battles, and you can fuse your monsters together just like you can in any kind of monsters type game, but there's also a seasonal aspect of it too. And waterfalls will freeze, lakes will freeze over during winter time, maybe piles of leaves will come up during fall, vines will grow during spring, and it just adds this other dimension of exploration and also monster capturing into it, because different monsters will come out during different seasons, and it's so much fun. I've never had as much fun with the Monster series as I did with Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. It is a fantastic entry, and I highly recommend it to anybody who either likes the Dragon Quest series or likes monster capturing games, because it is just fantastic. Thank you again for joining me on this collaboration, everybody who joined in, and thank all of you for watching. Please be sure to go ahead and check out everybody else's channels as well, and as always, have a good day.